The space between the notes, the social life of music and Black history. My name is Mark Krasovic. I'm an assistant professor of history and American studies here at Rutgers, Newark, and the interim director of the Clement A. Price Institute on Ethnicity, Culture, and the Modern Experience. Yeah, all right, hey. Wow, it's an easy crowd today, all right. Yes. On behalf of myself and my colleagues at the Price Institute, we are thrilled to have you all here at Rutgers University, Newark, to mark this Black History Month with a day-long contemplation of the ways in which music, and perhaps art in general, helps forge community, how it provides refuge in troubled times, and how it might help us move toward better futures. Whether we're contemplating, as we are here at Rutgers, in Newark, as in so many places, the role of the arts in urban development, in educating citizens for life in our republic, in propping up or disrupting structures of power, we seek to draw wisdom from music's history of helping imagine and create a more inclusive and just city, nation, and world. So we thank you for being with us here today, whether for the first or the 38th time or somewhere in between. And I can't tell you, how astounding and meaningful every year the view from this podium is. To see so many gathered in fulfillment of Clem Price's and Giles Wright's fondest hopes for this series, that it gathered together people who value a rigorous and creative exploration of Black and American history, and who eagerly seek out the complications and revisions to our ways of thinking that such a contemplation inevitably entails. And thank you too to our honored guest speakers and performers who will guide our exploration today with their thoughtfulness, their expertise, their talents, and their creativity. As we proceed, I ask, once again, you please silence your cell phones, but don't put them away because you are heartily invited to post and Instagram and tweet and connect with us on social media using the hashtag up there. This year's program is presented, as it is every year, by the Clement A. Price Institute on Ethnicity, Culture, and the Modern Experience, and the Federated Department of History at Rutgers University, Newark, and the New Jersey Institute of Technology. And we offer a warm thanks to our funders whose generosity year after year literally makes this possible. We could not do this without the following. Prudential, and thanks especially to its chair and president of the Prudential Foundation, Lotta Reddy, vice president of the foundation, Shanae Harris, and our corporate social responsibility officer has been sort of our go-to contact at Prudential, Maura Yo. Thanks to the New Jersey Historical Commission, and its director, Sarah Curitin, and its chair, Maxine Lurie, both of whom are here with us today. And the New Jersey Council for the Humanities, and its director, Brianne Greenfield. And closer to home, thanks to the Office of the Chancellor and the Office of the Dean of Faculty of Arts and Sciences at Rutgers Newark, the Rutgers Committee to Advance Our Common Purposes, and of course all the wonderful staff at the Paul Robeson Campus Center, which hosts us every year. These are long-standing supporters and advocates of this series, and we are deeply grateful for their friendship. Funding for the public arts, for public programs in the arts and humanities is always dependent on our ability to demonstrate the value of such programs to a broad community of learners. And though it can't possibly capture all the thinking and learning and warm feelings of community that are endemic to arts and humanities gatherings in general,
and to MTW in particular, we nonetheless ask you to please fill out the audience survey as completely and thoughtfully as you do every year. Your answers are incredibly important to us at the Price Institute. The survey can be found tucked into your program. Thank you. All right, just a few more thank yous. I want to express my deep gratitude to the staff of the Price Institute and several members of its extended family. So thank you a million times over to Christina Strasburger from the History and African American and African Studies departments, our technically retired but always on call program coordinator Marisa Pearson, our newest staff member Rebecca Lesperance, who just joined us this past fall, and to Laura Troiano, who is now this event's true organizing guru and who most of us won't even see today because she will always be, as she is no doubt now, putting out some fire somewhere in the building. And this year I need to give a special thank you to my friend and colleague Wayne Winborn, the director of the Institute of Jazz Studies here at Rutgers Newark. Please. Wayne helped us with both the nuts and bolts organizing of this event, the speakers and performers who have joined us for it, and with our broader conceptualization of its themes and aims. And as if all that weren't enough, he also agreed to MC the afternoon session. So Wayne, thank you for sharing your knowledge with such great generosity and warmth. And I hope you'll still have us over for listening parties when today is done, because that's been fun. All right, and finally, a quick logistical note. If you're parked in the Rutgers deck, please bring your MTW program with you for when you exit, and apparently if you show it to the attendant, you'll get free parking. Is that that's right. If you're ever parked in Newark, you know what that means. And just a quick reminder that today's event will be followed by our traditional reception, which this year returns to the Newark Museum. There will be, as always, plenty of food and live music by the Bradford Hayes Trio. The museum, as many of you will know, is just a few short blocks away, but if you prefer not to walk, there will be a shuttle that will run loops after the event today between the Paul Robeson Campus Center, the museum, and the parking deck until 5:30. So as always, we hope you'll join us for the festivities. Now the program proper. Okay. We begin, as we do every year, with music. And over the years, we've welcomed all manner of instrumentalists and vocalists to MTW. And this year, mainly because we didn't think it would be fair to ask somebody else to sing on stage when Alexis Morast will be here later today, we decided to go the instrumental route. So as in years past, when we've done this, the New Jersey Symphony Orchestra has sent us one of its most accomplished members to open our program. Kathleen Nestor is second flute and solo piccolo for the New Jersey Symphony Orchestra. She's also a member of the Stamford Symphony Orchestra in Connecticut and principal flute of Amici, New York, and the OK Mozart Festival in Oklahoma. She has performed around the world, including with the New York Symphonic Ensemble's tour of Japan, has contributed to innumerable recordings of classical, modern, and popular music, and performed with the orchestras of many Broadway shows, including South Pacific, one of my favorites, Man of La Mancha, and most recently, Evita. A graduate of the Manhattan School of Music, she is currently on the woodwind faculty at NYU. We will hear, as is our tradition, Lift Every Voice and Sing, lyrics by James Weldon Johnson and music by J. Rosamond Johnson, declared by the NAACP in 1919 the Negro National Anthem, and performed at the opening of every MTW since the first in 1981. Ms. Nestor will follow Lift Every Voice with a short medley of other spirituals. So please welcome Ms. Kathleen Nestor. Thank you so much, Kathleen. There's much more music to come, so I want to keep things moving. We'll keep the good feeling going with a special announcement from Professor Jan Ellen Lewis, whose title we unfortunately mangled in today's program, but who is in reality the Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences here at Rutgers University, Newark. So please welcome Dean Lewis.
Good morning, everyone. It is my great pleasure and honor to introduce to you the new director and associate director of the Clement A. Price Institute, Dr. Jack Chen and Dr. Salamisha Tillett. They will join the excellent staff whom you already know and have been introduced to you this morning and enable us to chart new directions in the public humanities. 3 years ago, after Dr. Price's sudden and tragic death, which we mourn every day, Chancellor Nancy Cantor enlisted us in a mission to make permanent Clem's legacy by endowing the Institute and by creating an endowed chair in Clem's name to be filled by the next director. After an extensive national search led by Professor Belinda Edmondson, I am proud to report to you that we have hired not one, but two extraordinary scholars and public intellectuals, both, like Clem, at the forefront of public history and humanities, and both, like Clem, warm, inspiring people who walk the walk of what it means to be an engaged scholar and an engaged citizen. I refer you to the insert in your program for detailed biographies of Jack and Salamisha. We held them to a page each, but we could have written volumes about each of their young careers. Hence, I will provide only a few highlights, just enough so you will understand how fortunate we have been to persuade them to embark upon the next phase of their careers here. Jack Chen first. Jack, who in September will become the Clement A. Price Chair in Public History and Humanities and the inaugural holder of the Price Chair, began his career by founding a museum, the Museum of Chinese in America. Who starts his career by founding a museum? And this achievement, how do you start out that way? Where do you go from there? The achievement was almost immediately recognized by the National Endowment for the Humanities with what is now called the National Humanities Medal. This is just unprecedented. Jack went on to obtain his PhD from NYU, where he is currently the founding director of Asian Pacific American Institute and associate professor of history and social and cultural analysis, and then to publish his multiple award-winning book, Before Chinatown. No list of publications, degrees, affiliations, awards, and fellowships can begin to convey, however, the sweep and the moral and aesthetic reach of his historical imagination, which uses the most advanced and innovative technologies to connect us to our most ancient roots so that we can tell our collective stories, in the process making ourselves into a community. Jack has already begun his work here, founding the New York City Newark Public History Project, which will research and retell the history of dispossession, enslavement, and imperial trade in this region. This project emerged directly from his experience serving on the New York City Mayor's Commission on Public Art, Monuments, and Markers, on which he served this summer, and which I'm sure you read about in the New York Times and elsewhere. Now on to Salamisha. Like Jack, even before finishing her PhD at Harvard, she had embarked upon a major public project, the co-creation of A Long Walk Home, a national nonprofit that uses art to educate, inspire, and mobilize young people to end violence against girls and women, in particular through Story of a Rape Survivor, a multimedia performance on campus rape. This work, begun many years ago, could hardly be more timely. Like Jack, Salamisha's commitment to and experience with using the humanities in innovative ways to reach deeply into people's lives and effect change runs deep. For both Jack and Salamisha, this commitment is at the core of who they are as scholars, teachers, citizens, and artists. Salamisha works at the intersection of art and activism. She's an accomplished scholar, currently the Robert S. Blank Presidential Associate Professor of English and Africana Studies at the University of Pennsylvania, and the author of the acclaimed Sites of Slavery, Citizenship and Racial Democracy in the Post-Civil Rights Imagination. Like Jack, she is the recipient of too many important fellowships and honors for me to list here. She's currently completing a book, In Search of the Color Purple, which she describes as a memoir about Alice Walker's novel. She has another book also in the works on Black Rage and the civil rights singer Nina Simone. Salamisha is probably already well known to you, for those of you who live in Newark, of course, because she's a resident, but also from her many appearances on TV and radio, especially the BBC, CNN, MSNBC, and NPR. She has written for The Atlantic, The Chicago Tribune, The Guardian, The Nation, The Root, and Time, and she's a regular critic for the New York Times Arts and Leisure section. You may have seen her recent rave review of Black Panther, and I encourage you
to see Black Panther.
Yes, stick around for the afternoon portion of this program. See Black Panther in the evening. She's also written the liner notes for John Legend and the Roots. It's like, Jack, who starts his career by creating a museum? What professor writes liner notes for John Legend and the Roots? I'm in awe of these people standing next to me. In addition to serving as Associate Director of the Price Institute, Salamisha will be the founding director of the Public Arts and Social Justice Initiative at Express Newark. She will also be training a new generation of cultural critics in our MFA in creative writing. In leaving us far too soon, Clem Price left us with a challenge to see if we could honor his legacy by building on it, by serving this community and continuing to join scholarship, the arts, and civic engagement to realize a better future for all of us. We think that in persuading Jack and Salamisha to join us, to work with us in reimagining the public humanities, to face new challenges, we are taking an important first step. And we think that Clem would be proud. Nancy, we did good, didn't we?
Oh, Clem would be proud.
So over the last several months, Laura, Rebecca, and I at the Price Institute have been getting to know both Jack and Salamisha. I've been doing our best to answer all of their questions. I've been asking millions of our own and plotting with them our steps forward. So I know I speak for Laura and Rebecca too when I say that we are beyond thrilled that they'll be joining us over on 49 Bleecker to continue and indeed expand and deepen the work we do in pursuit of Professor Price's vision of a deeply engaged university and institute. So we all want to say collectively to Dean Lewis and her staff, to Chancellor Cantor and hers, the Price Chair Search Committee, which was comprised of a sort of murderer's row of thoughtful and engaged scholars and colleagues, and all the dozens and dozens of people who played a part in bringing Jack and Salamisha to us, we offer our deepest gratitude. Thank you. So as you know, every year we invite several dignitaries to bring greetings to this remarkable gathering. Unfortunately, this year, Rutgers University President Robert Barchi could not make it. And we also tried really hard this year with the essential help of several accomplices. Vice Chancellor Brown, to bring our new governor and lieutenant governor here. And it felt like we had almost pulled it off, but they are exceedingly busy with their still young administration, and in the end were unable to join us. But Governor Phil Murphy and Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, how nice is it to say those titles with those names? And President Barchi, they all sent their regrets and their best wishes for the day. But I'm thrilled that Mayor Ras Baraka is here with us this morning once again. Since September, the Price Institute has been hosting a group of 5 Rutgers Newark students as the inaugural class of the Amiri Baraka Fellows. And as part of our efforts to introduce them to the history and contemporary life of Newark, we recently had the great joy and honor to spend a couple hours in the Baraka family home with the mayor's mother, Miss Amina Baraka. And after being there, I can sort of more confidently challenge you to find another mayor so familiar and deeply invested in history and the arts, whose childhood home is adorned with photos of family with John Coltrane and other greats, and which played host to giants like Nina Simone, Harry Belafonte, and Abby Lincoln, to name just a few. The stories that Ms. Baraka told us were amazing. Such deep connections to the world of music, of course, are just one manifestation of his and his family's long history of art making and community building and engagement and activism in Newark, and one font of inspiration for the incredible work going on in City Hall. It is always an honor to have him here on this campus and at this podium, so please welcome Mayor Ras Baraka.
So it's a pleasure to be here. I'm sorry that Barchi couldn't come, but I'm glad that I have Chancellor Cantor here. I mean, all of these things that are happening at this institution, at the university here at Rutgers Newark, could not be possible without Chancellor Nancy Cantor. And it has to be said. Every opportunity I get, I say that I know how it feels sometimes to be at the helm of all these things and all this stuff is going on. And it is important to recognize the fact that somebody else could be there and this could not be what may not be happening. So thank God for you and the work that you do in this city. I'm excited that we're continuing MTW here over and over again annually, the lecture series. Clem would be proud. We're glad that we're able to have intellectual discussion and dialogue in our city about things that matter not only to Newark but to the country and to the world right here on this block, in this street, in the city is just amazing to me. And today that we're discussing how art or music specifically has a kind of sociological, political historiography period is very, very, very important, particularly since the city of Newark is moving forward because of art and music and culture. We don't look at the city as moving forward, and art and music is coming with it. We believe that the city is moving forward because of its art and music and culture. And just one little caveat. The title is The Space Between the Notes, but I would argue that it's the notes themselves, that we are the blues ourselves, as my father would say, that our expression is American and wholly and completely American, that black music is American music, that it's impossible to study American culture and American music and history without discovering and understanding the movement of black people in this country from slavery to present day. And our music is an expression of our movement through history in this country. And so as we study music, we're actually studying our history. And as we study our history, we're actually studying America. It's important that our young people understand this because oftentimes we get European history as American history or European art as American art. And it's important for us to understand and the importance of European art and European music, but know that European art and European music is not American music and American art and American history. We have a distinct and specific and particular history in this country. And as my dad would say, America's classical music is jazz. So in that, I'm sure you're going to have an incredible discussion today. I have to run. I have some young people waiting for me. I have a leadership class that I do every third Saturday of the month for young college and high school kids at King's Restaurant on Clinton Avenue. They're probably waiting very eager. And today, we're going to discuss some very important topics and talk about Black Panther too. So have a great day and enjoy your time at Rutgers and in the city of Newark. God bless.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Chancellor Nancy Cantor has the music in her. It's true. I've heard her sing. I've seen her dance. I don't think she's going to do either today. Okay. But her insistence that the arts are an essential part of university work and universities' engagement with the places they call home has transformed not only the Haynes Building a few blocks from here into a campus community arts incubator, but all of our senses of why and how we engage with the arts, whether as practitioners, scholars, fans, or some combination of all three. In her support of Express Newark, of the Institute of Jazz Studies, of the Price Institute, to give just a few examples, Chancellor Cantor has demonstrated a commitment to making sure the arts, including music, continue to lead creative and critical social lives in Newark and beyond. It's always a great pleasure to hear what she has to say, so please welcome Chancellor Nancy Cantor.
One correction, I can't sing. Thank you. So I am really honored and moved, as always, to be here and to follow our remarkable Mayor, S.J. Baraka, statesman, educator, artist, son of Newark. As we come together for the 38th annual Marion Thompson Wright Lecture, it feels so right to be immersing ourselves in the space that music, jazz, and more has made powerful and empowering in Black history and in Newark's history. In fact, one of the first times that I heard the mayor speak was in a symposium right here organized by our colleagues from the Queer Newark Project in October of 2014, and he was reminiscing about club life and jazz as sanctuary spaces, powerful and empowering. And we all know the strength that our guiding light, Clement Price, derived from those jazz records, vinyl, stored in milk crates in his and Mary Sue Sweeney Price's living room in Newark, and many now adorning the walls of our jazz club at 15 Washington Street, named in his honor, Clements. And I hope you all go there. Powerful and empowering, that is the tune that generations of Newarkers have played, carried forth today by those we look to keep us going strong, filling the space that otherwise too often keeps us apart, dare we say segregated, even locked away. When you hear Stefan and Alexis, you will know that that space is being filled with empowerment and power. Jazz, music, art, in all its creative expressions, has always been the key to crossing of borders, boundaries, the unlocking of doors to opportunity, to a bit of justice. And that continues today indeed, as Alexis plays in Cape Town and Stefan reminds us that there are no mistakes on the bandstand, and improvisational expression fills the halls of NJ and Symphony Hall, the rooms of Express Newark and Clements, the airwaves of WBGO, the sanctuary at Bethany's Jazz Vespers, even as the legendary lost spaces between Sparky's J, the Key Club, Club Zanzibar, and more remain as inspirations. Let's give them a clap, right? And as the city moves, as new spaces pop up, trying to be third spaces that don't fall prey to the separations of history, de jure and de facto, that grab space and opportunity for some and persistently marginalized and held back others, as we yearn for and commit to Newark not being Brooklyn. You heard that? To equitable growth instead, can we draw strength from and inspiration and rhythms to play from the score of one of the greatest jazz cities in the world, as The Guardian called Newark, tracing the route by which sounds from Sarah Vaughan floated towards Christian McBride and Stefan and Alexis and onward. For just as the long arm of history eerily reminds us today of what hasn't gone away, think Charlottesville, think travel bans, think bathroom laws, think dreamers at a precipice, the dogged repetition of our proclivity to divide and separate, at the very same time, the persistent and indeed rebellious noises we make, improvising in ways that cover the spaces between, bouncing off one another, crossing generations and borders, covering over time with variation, with novelty, allows for how the city moves, for how we express Newark forward in some continued improvisation toward equitable growth, toward justice, while the archives of the Institute of Jazz Studies and the commentaries of WBGO keep us mercifully aware of that legacy, what we might call the goodness in the long arm of history. Yes, as Farah Jasmine Griffin so encourages us to see the intersection of artistry and progressive politics as empowering, and Daphne Brooks traces performance itself as a freeing expression, we settle on how important the notes between the spaces have been to defining the direction of the spaces between the notes. And that continues today. Deja vu all over again. We're living in a time when the spaces between the notes, bucking up against decades of laws and practices that define some spaces as no-go zones for some peoples, are filled with a medley of voices, but all too often angry and urgent, and almost always speaking past each other, shouting down each other, asserting righteous grievance of their own, absolutely often justified, but rarely acknowledging the other's pain or even their existence. It's a time when some of the loudness comes from the fear of losing power and an urgent need to loudly assert dominance, and some comes from a fear of never ever gaining power and the fierce urgency of not remaining silent. And while the shouting often rings a familiar note, even borrowing, as in Charlottesville, from an old score that in turn evokes old tunes of mobilization, we shall not be moved, that give us some strength in response. Yet it also reminds us afresh that there is no exact playbook for this performance for our time. It will take the improvisation of a master, pulling the whole lot of us into its spell, into its back and forth and rhythms that move, taking the risk to believe there are no mistakes, as Stefan assures us on the stage. But what about the spaces between the notes? What about this stage of life together? Can we take the risk, as these musicians and artists all over do, to listen to each other, to bounce off of each other, even to express without suppressing, to play without taking over or shutting down the other, to grab a rightful bit of voice without thinking it's the only one to hear? Can we model the spaces between the notes on the metaphors, the harmonious but vibrant, even sharp rhythms of the notes between the spaces? Jazz, performance, and the arts have these metaphors of reaching across, built intrinsically into the genre of collective expression, improvisation, movement, interdependence, interchange, all aimed in some way at empathy, at lifting the spirit without tricking it, though, through the honest, sometimes raw, connections made between people and notes and sounds and experiences and memories, at once painful and uplifting. through the honest sound, which even when it hurts, tends to draw us closer, not push us apart. Isn't that precisely what we need today? Isn't that what democracy is about? As NJPAC reminds us annually with its James Moody Democracy of Jazz Festival. For as the city moves, and after all, when this city moves, the world moves too, we need to ensure it covers the spaces between the notes as well and as powerfully as the notes cover the spaces between the people. Cover those spaces with walkways to opportunity, with a celebration of the diverse expressions we make and the diverse talents we have. When the music plays, a beautiful sound to hear. And we will hear it today in Paul Robeson's hall, in one of jazz's legendary cities, in the spirit of Marion Thompson Wright and the soul of Clement Alexander Price, that inspires more movement toward justice, more time for growth, but equitable growth, for the many, not just the few. Because after all, if music is our inspiration, it comes from and reaches out to all. Thank you.